I decided to tackle, I don't know, some projects that I have had sitting in bins for a while. I also wanted to begin to use up some of my fabric stash, which I've got quite a bit of it. I decided, since I had just made napkins again to replace the napkins that I previously had, that I would go ahead and try to make some unpaper towels, I guess is what they're called. And the towels that I usually use are Costco brand, Kirkland brand towels. And I probably will never ever not use paper towels because I will probably use them for some things. But if I can cut down on that cost and waste, I would really like to do that. So the first thought that I had was, number one, what do I use the towels for? And of course, I think like everybody, we use them for a variety of reasons. A lot of times I just grab them to dry my hands. Like if I'm cooking and I've cut up an onion and I just want to wipe my hands really quick on something before I move on to the next vegetable or whatever. So there's very small jobs, I guess I want to say, where I don't need anything big or fancy, just something small to dry my hands on. Now I measured the Kirkland paper towels, and the regular size is 11 by 14. And of course the half size is 11 by 7. Now I kind of was deciding, what do I want to do? 11 by 7 just seems a little bit silly, like not really wanting to waste the fabric to do it. So I might as well just make the big ones and call it good. But I also wanted to think about the thickness. Now regular paper towels, of course, are very thin, and I like that for just small jobs. And so I'm going to make two different types of unpaper towels. So the first is going to be where I picked up 2 fabric bolts of diaper cloth. Now diaper cloth, I thought, could be pretty absorbent. It's used for diapers, and you have to make sure that you get the diaper cloth that is not coated. So this is actually, 100% cotton diaper cloth. It says it on the back. Doesn't seem to be coated fabric, it's just regular cotton, but it does have a little bit of, I don't know, you can see there's a little bit of texture in there. My guess is you probably won't be able to see that very well, but it still would serve the same purpose. I considered just, doubling it and then just using both sides easily. And then I thought, well, how can I make the fabric stretch a little bit further? And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to use up some of my cotton fabric and use it for just the back. I pulled out these 2 very large pieces of fabric out of my stash. This one, I remember what I bought it for. I was going to make a quilt, and at the time I was going to use this for the backing. And of course I had picked this up at Joann's Fabric. You can see it says it right there. And I think I probably got this one at Joann's Fabric as well. I decided I'm going to use this one for the back side of this diaper cloth. It'll stretch the diaper cloth out a little bit further since I have 4 yards, and it's going to be thin enough for the purpose of what I want to make with that. This fabric is another very large piece of fabric. And I am not really a big green fan. I don't know why I bought it. So I went to Walmart this morning and to see if Walmart had any terry cloth by the yard, but they didn't. So for larger spills or major cleaning, like if I'm cleaning the counter or I don't know, the stove or whatever, I spill something, I decided I'm going to use these bar mop dishcloths. And I had pulled out my receipt, and sure as heck I don't remember how much they cost, but they weren't very expensive comparatively speaking. I looked at the washcloths. I didn't like how they felt in my hand. I just wasn't impressed with them. I looked at the utility cloths, and those were actually more pricey than and you got less than the washcloths. And then I looked at the bar mop towels, I guess is what they might have been called. And those actually felt pretty nice, but I didn't want anything so big that I had to really cut it down and have any waste. So that ruled that out. And then I saw these bar mop dishcloths, which are 12 by 12. And they are 100% cotton as well. So I was happy about that. And I will tell you that I have a ton of flannel. I had bought a ton of flannel to use for making burp rags and baby blankets and all of that kind of stuff. And I may end up either making those and selling them on Etsy, or making them and giving them away, or doing something else with it. I'm not sure what. But I didn't want to use flannel. I really don't like flannel to do much of anything with, unless it's clothing or blankets. I don't like the feel of it. I don't like to sew flannel. It stretches. It's just not fun to use. And I just didn't think it would be good for what I wanted it to be used for. Now, for scrubbing purposes or cleaning purposes, I can't think of anything better maybe than these bar mop dishcloths. Now, I haven't washed these yet. I haven't washed any of it yet, but I'm probably going to. I considered not washing them before using them, and then decided, I'd go ahead and do it. And then whatever size these bar mop dishcloths turned out to be would be the size of my unpaper towel. So again, these were 12 by 12. I imagine once they shrink and I get a seam allowance in there. I mean, I have a serger, but I really didn't want to do a serger. So I don't know quite what I'm going to do with them. I may make them like I did the napkins and turn them inside out. But I'm not wanting to deal much with these hem pieces. So if you can see that. It looks like a 1/4 inch hem on two sides and a 1/2 inch hem on the other two sides. Yeah, it's a little over a 1/2 inch. So it's about 9/16 of an inch seam allowance, which is a weird seam allowance, but it's what they have. So if I cut that off, that's taken me down to already under 11 inches. So I basically am just deciding that whatever size these turn out to be is the size they're going to turn out to be. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wash these, and like I said, it'll be whatever size or shrinkings that they turn out to be. And then I'm going to cut off these side pieces. I'm going to leave this as part of my seam allowance because it's not as wide. So I'm probably going to go in maybe a 1/2 inch on all sides, which will take this down a little bit further, and see how that turns out. So anyway, so I'm going to use this fabric with the terry cloth, and I'm going to use this fabric with the diaper cloth. I can't tell you how many times I grab a paper towel just to dry my hands. I don't know why. Something about the fact that my husband also uses the regular towel that I keep in the kitchen. I just don't know what he's using it for. And so I like something clean to dry my clean hands on. So I can't tell you how many times I grab a paper towel, usually this size, the small one. I'll tear me off a 1/2 towel and dry my hands on it. And then what I do, I save them. So I dry my hand on them, and then I set them aside, and then I use it for something else. Like if I'm sopping up something off the counter, or I have to pick something up off the floor, or whatever. So I reuse them at least one more time after I've dried my hands on them. And I could do the same with these as well. I think I forgot to plug in my mic the last time. Maybe I didn't sound as much like Darth Vader as I usually do. Sucks having asthma and allergies. I washed these bar mop cloths. And I did find my Walmart receipt, and for 18 of them it was $9.58. So that was basically 50 cents a towel, a little over 50 cents a towel. What happened was, going this direction, they turned out to be pretty much stayed 12 by 12. But going this direction, before I cut off these 9/16, I think is what it was, this 9/16 seam allowance, came to about 11 and a half, maybe a little under 11 and a half, somewhere between 11 and 11 and a half, so not very wide. But then I got to thinking that I wasn't thinking clearly, still trying to recover from this darn concussion. But this is going to be for my sopping up and maybe really scrubbing or washing anyway. So if I take it and I fold it up in half to scrub, I think that's plenty of towel for me. Since I am using the diaper cloth to make my regular hand drying towels, I'm going to make those probably 11 by 14, or anyway as close to that finished size as I can, because I do like that size. But this would be the right side, and you can tell, because you can tell the way the hem is on these. This is the back side, so that's what I would consider the pretty side. So then I'm going to put right sides together. And then I'm going to go to the machine, and I'm going to just use white thread. I don't care about this. I'm not going to go to the extent of trying to make sure I use green on top and white on the bottom. I'm just going to use white thread, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all around. I'm going to start and stop with a back tack here on this side or this side, whichever one, to leave room for turning. All right, I need to find my scissors. Probably on my ironing board. It actually went through the foot feed just fine, and I did do it with this side up instead of this side down, and I think it worked out just fine. What I was going to say too is, I know Walmart has, here's some of this variegated thread that I was talking about the other day, really pretty. If I can get it out of here. So Walmart has bobbins of thread colors. Now, I don't buy any other color other than like white and black, pretty much. Mostly the white, because you get really full bobbins of thread, and they have them specifically for the Brother machine. So I buy these when I go to Walmart. It's just like a whole package of, it's a whole package of several of them. I was going to mention that. So I think this turned out pretty decent. I'm anxious to use this to see how it cleans. And like I said, I can fold it this way and do cleaning, or I can use it this way to sop up messes. Now, because of the colored fabric on the back, you might say, you know, you can't really bleach it because otherwise you're going to ruin your fabric. But there is bleach for coloreds, and I don't know how that works as far as getting stains out really well or disinfecting your rags. So I'm going to have to do some experimentation, you know, see what I can do about finding a sanitizer for colored clothes and just use that. I don't have any problem doing that. For me, I'm probably going to have to order it off of Amazon, because finding stuff that is fragrance free is very difficult unless you're buying off of Amazon. But I think that's a good size. So I'm going to go ahead and sew one with the diaper cloth. I cut my two fabrics, the cotton print and the diaper cloth. I cut them both 12 by 15 so that my finished size would be the size of a paper towel, which is the 11 by 14. That was the nice thing about not using, you know, pre-made washcloths. So once again, I'm going to put pretty sides together. And I don't know if there's a pretty side with the diaper cloth or not. I think this is the top side. You can see a little bit of the differences in the weave. So I'm assuming this is the bottom, or the wrong side. And I probably should have ironed this, but I didn't for purposes of this video. I did not iron it. I would suggest probably ironing it. And I will probably iron it before, you know, I sew the top stitching on it. But I'm going to go ahead and put some pins in here. I will definitely, I would imagine, try to iron this before I do the rest of them. It's kind of like you say, don't try this at home. That's kind of what I want to say. But you got to try it at home. That's where you're doing it. But I'm just saying, regarding the lack of ironing here to get the video done. I have my two fabrics right sides together, and I'm going to once again sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to again leave openings on the long side. Alright, I have sewn the 4 sides. Did find my scissors. It's on my ironing board, just like I thought it was. Something I forgot to mention, when you're sewing the terry cloth one, you might want to lengthen your stitches to 3 instead of like 2.5, which is about your normal stitch length. And once again, you're not going to cut into your turning allowance. You're just going to cut right up to it. And about 1/4 inch past it. Cut your corners. If I didn't mention that, I think you probably saw me do that anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and press this, only because I do want this to lay a little bit nicer when I do the top stitch. And I will probably from here on out press my terry cloth ones too. I was just, I think, in a hurry, wanting to get the video out, and didn't want to clean off my ironing board. I mean, that was probably it more than anything. Didn't want to clean off my ironing board. I don't know, in my house, I think any flat surface is game for holding something that is not necessarily what it's supposed to hold. Okay, and with pretty much the same as what you did with the napkins, is just use your fingers and try to roll out the seam allowances, and then I'm going to go ahead and get this pressed and top stitch, and I will be back. I pressed it before I did the top stitch, which turned out much nicer, of course. And a lot of times people will extend also the top stitch to a 3 instead of a 2.5. I think that's kind of up to you. When I stitched this one, I stitched on the inside, I stitched it at 2.5, and I didn't notice much of a difference. I think this particular terry cloth is thin enough, it doesn't really matter. But I did do a 3 on the top stitch for this one. And on this one, I did a 3 for the top stitch as well. And I did 2.5 on the inside seam. So that turned out really nice, I think. And for me, I think this is going to be perfect for drying my hands, cleaning up small spills. I mean, this is good enough you could wipe the counter with too, but I think I would probably keep it for some of those smaller jobs that I use paper towels for, that, you know, is going to save on the paper towel. In comparison, this is the paper towel, and it's pretty close to being the same size. And I think that, you know, a lot of times you see people having different colored fabrics and having them nice and bright colors, and then other people are just cleaning out their stash, kind of like I did. I just happen to have some really large pieces to have all of them look the same. But I will tell you, I am really anxious to be able to use these. I think I'm going to have fun using them. I think they're going to be nice to use. And I may just roll them up like this, and then just stick them in a basket. And then when I need one, I can just pull one out of the basket and roll it and use it. And because it's so thin, you could just fold these up into quarters or whatever and lay them in a drawer right beside these and have them all in one place. Well, there you go. Use up your stash. You know, I'm going to tell you too, I almost forgot. You can find a lot of used fabric, big chunks of used fabric at the thrift stores. You can also pull them from the bins. I have pulled lots of fabric from the bins at the big Goodwill outlet. So keep your eye out. I mean, if you don't want to go buy fabric, you're probably not going to find the diaper fabric at one of those places. You may find the terry, but you can definitely find different kinds of fabric. You can buy sheets. Sheets would be another good one to use. Your printed fabric side. As thin as this is, which is about double the thickness of a regular paper towel, you could roll this onto a paper towel roll and hook it up with your paper towel holder, which is often installed underneath your kitchen cabinet or on the wall or something like that. A lot of them are ones that just stand up on the counter, which I don't have one of those. But I was trying to think of other things that you could do, is use maybe a PVC pipe and have somebody cut it down to the size of a paper towel roll, because if you get a pipe the same size or close to the same size and width, I mean, you'd be able to just slide that onto your paper towel holder. I mean, it definitely wouldn't hold as many paper towels. As thin as this fabric is and as well as it sticks together, yeah, you would, if you did just single ones of your diaper cloth and then did a serger around the edges, I mean, you couldn't get any closer to a real paper towel, I don't think, and it not be a paper towel. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is just put a plus sign here in the middle with stitching, just to hold it in the center. We'll probably do the same thing here, just put a small plus sign in the middle. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe, and be kind.